Welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna look at some of the things that happened during this Warriors season, kind of doing a little recap on our season. So if you are not a Warriors fan, please enjoy this video of me suffering. If you are a Warriors fan, let's look at what we can do better, what we can improve on. And without further ado, let's get into it. Make sure you like and subscribe. One more thing. Once again, haven't been active for a minute. More to that in another video coming in the next couple of days. But now, let's start where the season started, the off season. Obviously, Warriors lose Otto Porter and Nemanja Bjelica, also Gary Payton, for a while at least. Bring in JaMychal Green and Donte DiVincenzo to replace Gary Payton and Otto Porter Jr. Kind of hope James Wiseman would fill up that backup center spot since he was going to return from injury and did return from injury. Obviously, Wiseman did not fill those shoes. Doesn't play the role that the Warriors need from the center, or Steve Kerr and the coaching staff wants from a center. Warriors do not play through their center like other teams. And now on the Pistons, obviously, it's not winning basketball they're playing, but you can see that he still has that potential that the Warriors saw when they drafted him. Just not the right fit for the Warriors, which is a rare miss by the front office, who have been known for their exceptional draft selections throughout the years. Next up, obviously, Otto Porter, incredible asset last year, putting up great defensive and offensive numbers every game, to be replaced by JaMychal Green, who's been a great player, very reliable player in the league for over a decade, I believe. Just not really, again, couldn't fill that role that the Warriors needed from him. Obviously went through some kind of messed up things during the first half of the season with that really nasty infection that he had in his upper right thigh, where he got a deep cut and that got infected. And then right after that, he got COVID while the team was on a road trip in New York, and he couldn't be with his family during Christmas or Thanksgiving or something like that, I believe. So yeah, it was a tough season overall for him as well. The only replacement that kind of worked out was DDV, Donte DiVincenzo, who obviously in the regular season at least was a phenomenal shooter, really good defender, brought us he really won us a couple of games off the bench, even started a lot of games for us. But Gary, it's just not the same energy that Gary Payton brought. He brought great game, not quite the same energy, I would say. Obviously, Gary's defense also better. Also, you got to say different offensive game plays, game styles. However, very happy with that pickup of Donte DiVincenzo. Next, obviously, we experienced it last year, but I think it was even more extreme this year with the injuries that the team went through. Obviously, I already mentioned JaMychal Green, but he's not that high up on the rotation regardless. So Steph missed a lot of time. Wiggins, of course, missed the most amount of time, not due to injury, but due to more severe reasons, you could say, with his family matters that we don't need to go into. Very, very reasonable for him to miss time for those circumstances, which then also led to Wiggins not really being in the groove when playoff time came. Other injuries, you could say, came with the trade deadline, right? When we traded Wiseman for Gary Payton. He failed his physical even though he had been playing for the Blazers. And just, I think I saw this today or yesterday, where he said that during this entire season, he has never felt 100% healthy enough to perform. But yeah, like I said, Payton just not really fully healthy. So since we have him for one more year at least, got some high hopes there next year. Get that bounce back, GP2. Next, Jordan, Mr. Poole, baddies courtside. Not a single game this year. I mean, sure, a couple of games, but What happened? It's obviously no one can for sure say the answer. We can assume, we can think about it, we can analyze why he just clearly didn't play remotely as well as last year. Two things on that. One, you got to say that he didn't make the same type of decisions. He played a lot quite blatantly dumber. He made a lot less smart decisions. He played very quickly, forced a lot of stuff. On the defensive end, he didn't really look like he wanted to be there, didn't really want to try. So I don't have an explanation for that part. On the other end, I do have to say offensively, there are a lot of factors that could have been the reason for him to really downgrade so much this regular season and also playoffs. Like mentioning earlier, Porter and Bjelica leaving, Poole obviously being part of that second unit alongside them two, who at the 4 and the 5 positions really expanded, didn't expand, they just gave that whole second unit an incredible spacing that arguably probably was the best spacing of any second unit in the league last year. Bjelica, a great shooter with good range. Porter, obviously, as well, a very reliable shooter. Then you have Poole, who the paint opens up right. He's great. He 1v1, he's still good. He's still great. But because he sees that help coming now this season, because there's no center that's going to pull their defender out, all that paint that he had open and free last year, all that's not there anymore. That space isn't there anymore. So he forces stuff. I think that's why he forces a lot of stuff this year, just because he feels like he doesn't have that freedom that he had last year, that space that he had last year. Hopefully, either the Warriors and him can figure out something coaching-wise and improvement-wise, or the Warriors might actually have to look into parting ways with him, because that's not winning basketball that he played this year. Last year it was. This year it wasn't. You need to be able to make adjustments to your gameplay if you want to be a player on a championship-level team. Then last year it worked. This year it didn't. 2 timelines. Moody and Kuminga, obviously, almost, I would say they're 2 players that play on most teams, or rotational pieces on probably almost every team in the league. But this year you add 2 more rookies to that, and Ryan Rollins and Patrick Baldwin Jr., both of those not seeing any significant playing time. Obviously, PBJ here and there, a couple second quarter minutes, always the blowout minutes, but not really anything serious. So you didn't really get to see anything from those rookies. Yeah, you see that Patrick Baldwin Jr., he has a good stroke. He can shoot the ball, but you never saw him like when it mattered or anything like that. Kuminga in the regular season really proved himself in my eyes. Great defensively, great offensively, so explosive, makes great decisions. Looks like he's a player who's been in the league for 6-7+ years. And obviously he's made a few young mistakes here and there, but none where I'm like, oh, come playoff time, you can't play him. So we'll get back to that later. Moody didn't really play too much in the regular season, even though I thought when he did, he played super smartly, super just maturely, which I thought Steve Kerr really liked that type of player. But with Steve Kerr, you never know anymore who he likes in his rotation, bringing me to my next point. Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome. Why in this God-forsaken world, Steve, are you playing these 2 men at all? At all. Yes, Anthony Lamb had his little Linsanity run here and there. But are you serious right now? This man is not only convicted, you know what I'm trying to say. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Why are you playing him? A, why is he under contract? Whatever. But also, defensively, why is he on the court? Offensively, yeah, sure, he hits a couple threes. He goes 4 of 4 one game. The other 10 games, he goes 1 of goddamn 12, okay? I don't understand why Steve Kerr played this man so goddamn much during the regular season. Without him, I'm sure we would have 2 or 3 at least wins more. Ty Jerome brings me to Ty Jerome. This man is slower than, I don't know. I don't even have a comparison. That's how slow this man gets up the court. He will, after the opposition scores, he gets the inbound pass, right? Brings it up the court. There's usually about 0.2 seconds before that's a goddamn 8-second violation. The Warriors are one of the highest and fast-paced teams in the league. They have been ever since Steph Curry, ever since the Big Three has played for us. Now, I don't understand why you bring in Ty Jerome and let him run the point in that fashion when our whole mojo is to be a fast-hand team, to push the pace, to just really push into the opposition's defense, to bring out more mistakes on their end and prioritize and profit off of those. I don't understand why Ty Jerome really got that much playing time. Same with Anthony Lamb. I really would enjoy a little explanation from Steve Kerr on really a lot of his rotation reasons and decisions this season. I'm not saying that they're wrong. They're just very questionable. And since he's the professional, I would like an explanation. And not an explanation per se. I just want reasons why that makes sense to him. Iguodala, I love that guy, especially he's been there ever since we've been winning, recently at least. But not only didn't he really play, he took up the roster spot, sort of. At what point I'm like, I know he wanted one more last year, but I'm not saying he shouldn't have been on the team. I'm just saying this is one of the factors. The Warriors probably didn't do too well during the regular season and therefore also the postseason. Iguodala being injured all the time took away a roster spot that could have been used for another veteran type of player, who could have brought great energy, great advice, and just a good, like I said, energy to the team. But yes, Iguodala did that off the bench, but you need someone like that on the court just as much as you need him on the bench behind your teammates. So that was just unfortunate. Coming to the playoffs now, like I said, Wiggins, just after that stretch he had to miss due to family reasons, I thought he's great considering he's missed, 2 months it was. So I do give him props on that. He defensively and playmaking wise and rebounding, he was really right there from the start, but unsurprisingly, his shooting wasn't. He eventually found it during the Lakers series, I believe the last couple of games, but it was too little too late in the end. But that's another thing that we have to look at next season. That won't be a problem, most likely at least. And that's an upside. We that's a reason where we know, or that's a factor where we know, okay, that'll change next year. With the Poole, we don't know that yet. Bringing me to Poole, he shot so in the playoffs, he shot 34, 25, and 76. That is horrific, especially for a point guard, especially comparing that to last season's stats. 34% from 2 is atrocious for anybody. 25% from 3 for a player who he shot like 4 or 5 threes a game, I believe. Maybe more. 25% from 3. You know who shot that percentage? Draymond Green during the playoffs. I know it wasn't good, but still, why are you shooting that? It's just during the entire playoffs, right? For the Warriors, that was 13 games. In 13 games, for 13 games, he struggled. At what point? Yeah, shoot or shoot. I get that, but he took shots where you're just like. I genuinely said this a couple times. While I wouldn't be the better basketball player ever than Jordan Poole, if you put me on the court in that same position, there's no way I hurt the team as much, since I would just try to pass the ball. Obviously, that's not going to 100% how that works, but I think you get the gist. I think you get what I'm trying to say. It's just those deep threes that he does, that he takes, and just those shot selections, the flopping, the flailing that Jordan Poole has to his game. It's frustrating and it pisses me off, quite frankly, because especially against the Lakers, they flopped their Hollywood, they acted their Hollywood asses off, and since Jordan Poole kind of does it as well, I can't be as mad at the Lakers as I was the previous years whenever we had teams that on the opposite side that flopped like that. But since Poole is one of those players, I'm like, I mean, if he's going to do it, they can, right? It's frustrating. Obviously, you do have to say Poole didn't really get the same calls the Lakers did. But just that whole flailing motion, the flopping motion, it just doesn't look like basketball. It's not fun to watch, all that stuff. So it's frustrating. Klay, obviously, also another player who struggled shooting-wise, 38% from 2, 37% from 3, and, a very decent 87.5% from the free throw line. Ever since his injury, I don't think we've really seen a Game 6 Klay, except for maybe once against the Grizzlies or something. So I think Klay's gotten a little cocky, honestly. He's obviously struggled shooting-wise. Defensively, I felt he was a lot better during the end of the playoffs than he was in the beginning of the regular season. So that was another upside that we can look at. A shooter like Klay will not have a slump like that next season. Obviously, he also took a lot of questionable shots, but during the month of January and February, you saw that man can still shoot. That man can still hoop. He's still there. He's still there. The Klay that we all know and love. So I think that's another factor that we know for next year. We got a good shot. Curry also, from 2, fine, but the entire playoffs, he shot 36% from 3, the worst he's ever shot in the playoffs, I believe. Correct me on that if I'm wrong, but it's very interesting to see since, Steph has always, and I mean always, really performed in the playoffs. I'm not saying every game, but just overall, he's never really had a playoff run where he had Game 7. He had a couple good playmaking games and all that, but shooting-wise, from 3 especially, he didn't really have one really good game, for Steph standards, obviously. So I'm really hoping that's not because of his age, but just because it wasn't meant for us this year. But who knows? We'll see. Another factor in the playoffs, or not a factor, but something that I thought was interesting was Kuminga's and Moody's minutes sort of being swapped. If I'm talking about Kuminga's regular season minutes and Moody's regular season minutes. Like I said earlier, Kuminga played a lot during the regular season compared to Moody. And then in the playoffs, Moody played a lot more than Kuminga. Kuminga didn't play any reasonable or meaningful minutes, which is interesting. So then another questionable, but I mean, Moody paid off. I mean, he played great. I'm not saying he shouldn't have. I'm just asking why Kuminga's minutes are gone. Next, Kings series. I mean, the Kings quite simply showed they could have had the series, but that's where that Warriors experience and that championship blood and that just experience that we have came into play and really won us the series at the end there, won us a couple games, which ended up leading to the series win in Game 7. But Kings got my respect. Yes, Kings are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the years to come. Fox will win an MVP in the next 2 or 3 years. Mark my words. Next, I feel like the Lakers did not play like the better team for a lot of the game time. Especially Game 1, I felt like the Warriors played better for the first three, not the first 3 quarters, but for more of the game, and they kind of gave it away at the end. Obviously that goes for not that doesn't go for game three. Warriors obviously played better in game two. I think they won that fair and square. Game three, Warriors deserve to lose that point blank. But again and again, a lot of the games where I was like, the Warriors need to win that. They played like the better team. I'm not saying they are. I think the Lakers are the better team this year, but they didn't play like it during a lot of the games. And then you got it regardless of who you support. You've got to look at the fouls. I understand, yes, the Warriors are a three-point shooting team. Yes, the Lakers go inside of the paint. However, that's at some point you got to ask yourself, there's no way that Lakers, I mean, I'm sure there's a statistic that's going to come out in a couple of days where we see the percentages of drives that resulted in the foul for the Lakers compared to the Warriors. Yes, the Lakers draw the most fouls out of any team in the league. Yes, the Warriors allow them or commit the most fouls out of any team in the league. But still, I mean, you had game one, it was like 36-9. Game three, yeah, we lost that, whatever. But I'm not even going to talk about them. Something like that again, right? And then game four, something like that again. So it's just, it's either you got to look at it from the Warriors' perspective and say, okay, we really got to work on playing defense without fouling this offseason, and you got to say, hey, there's just no way that a team gets fouled that much. And I mean, there's a lot of clips that I saw, a few from both teams, but more from the Lakers side, where I'm just like, guys, stay in LA, like you just fly. It's ridiculous. There's oftentimes there is contact, but not enough, in my opinion, for it to be a foul. For example, I saw one play, Schroeder runs into a screen from Poole, who just established position. He gets bumped a little, right? That, what's that called? Hits him, bumps, and like gets repelled back. And then once he's repelled back a little, he's like, oh, and falls back on the floor, right? Which for me, that's not basketball. That's selling the foul, and a foul that's not. And they didn't do that once. They did that 20 times every game. It got called a little too much. In the end, Lakers, like I said, I think they are the better team. So I don't know if I'd say deservedly won the series. I think they are the better team. So in the end, it makes sense that they go through. Kind of unhappy with how it ended, a 20-point blowout. Not really fun for anyone. I'm sure you can say it was fun for Lakers fans, but not for basketball fans. What happens now for the Golden State Warriors? First, decide, do we go with the young timeline or do we go with the old timeline? Are we going to go, which I think is a very obvious choice, you go for the big three, the OG three, Klay, Draymond, and Stephen Curry. Keep Looney obviously around and all that stuff. But the question more goes on Kuminga, Moody, and Poole, maybe even PBJ and Ryan Rollins, even though I doubt that they're going to trade them because they are barely assets, as they've barely showed anything. So we're going to see what the Warriors decide to do and how they decide to do it. I don't know if you guys seen already, but Kuminga is very upset with how he was played in the playoffs. By that I mean how he didn't play in the playoffs. He is supposed to now have a meeting with the Golden State front office in the coming weeks to discuss his situation with the team up in the future. Which I could imagine if the Warriors say, "Hey, you're a great player. We're going to play you most of the time." I could imagine that maybe they move on from him. I would hate it. He's an incredibly talented player with huge potential. The ceiling is, I don't know where. It's very high up, especially if, we even saw his three-point shot and his jumper looking a lot more smoother during the end of the season. So it's just, we really don't even know how high that man's ceiling is. It's going to be a lot of tough decisions this offseason. And Kerr said something where I was a little bit like, really, dude? He was talking about how, the Warriors kind of maxed out, and that they didn't really have what it takes roster wise to be a championship team this year. Which, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but to say that as the coach, after being like saying that you're a contender all year, that's ridiculous in my eyes. Next up, Draymond's future. He's assumed, obviously, he's going to try and he wants to stay a Warrior for life. That's what he said. It's going to be an interesting contract discussions that are be going on, money-wise and all that stuff. We'll see if Clay renegotiates his contract and maybe negotiates a contract extension where he would have to take I don't know how significant, but a pretty decent pay cut. And I honestly think he might do that. Then we see with Draymond. And if Draymond decides to test the market, there are actually a bunch of contenders that do want him. So for all those common fans out there who say, oh, Draymond, just overhyped guy who makes some passes. No. If contenders want you as a starter, you're a Hall of Famer. Not just that, but you know what I'm saying. So a little deeper now, there's a couple free agents that I think the Warriors should have in mind. To start with Bruce Brown, I think that if you get rid of people first. Anthony Lamb, get him out. Ty Jerome, get him out. Do we trade Jordan Poole? Do we lock him in the gym all summer so he with like a how to play basketball one-on-one on a team video or something like that? I don't know. But so let's say there's a few open roster spots. I would want at least a couple of these following players. Bruce Brown, great shooter, very decent defender. Jalen McDaniels, same situation, even though a lot younger, so I think his payday would be a little higher. Great wingspan, great perimeter defender, very also once again a decent shooter. I've dreamt of this one for years. If the Warriors can somehow pick up Brook Lopez, I will sleep so well every single night until mid-October. You have no idea. Like, if somehow the Warriors front office pulls that off, I will be a happy basketball fan. Warriors fan. I don't think basketball fans will be too happy because I think Brook Lopez on the Warriors with that big three, dangerous. Looney has no problem coming off the bench. It would be Brook Lopez is the perfect style Warriors big man. A shooter who protects the rim, which is exactly what the Warriors are missing. A little of a lob threat, can get some offensive rebounds, but he's not a center that demands the ball. You know what I mean? He's going to stretch out that space for Poole when he's on the court. He's gonna get your misses. He's going to secure the rebounds and all that stuff. I mean, it's exactly what the Warriors have been missing. You can almost look at him like a Festus Ezeli who can shoot a little bit. You know what I mean? Okay, not quite, but you get the gist. Re-sign Dante DiVincenzo, that's a big one. Another free agent would be potentially Jakob Poeltl. If we probably won't get Brook Lopez, but Jakob Poeltl, I'd be very happy with that. Another great center who is young still kind of and would be a great asset to this team. One guy that, I always see who loves that Warriors gameplay, Kyle Kuzma. See that man on social media literally all day, every single day. Oh my God, the Warriors and Steph Curry, they're so good at this. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, brother. But if you want to play for us, you can just say that, right? And if you do want to play for us, you want to take a little pay cut because we can't really afford you, I think. But why shit? If you want to play for us, just come over. We got you. Last but not least, Andre Iguodala. Thank you for everything that you have done for this team, for this organization. I will see, and you will see your jersey, your number up in the rafters in the next few years. You are a Golden State Warriors and franchise legend, a hero. You secured us at least one ring, helped us win a few more. You will never be forgotten as a part of Warriors history. Hopefully, we see you back here one day as a coach, maybe even next year. Who knows how fast you'll be back, but it's been an honor watching you, and thank you for everything that you've put on as a Warriors player, and much more to say as an NBA player. A phenomenal career from All-Star to dunk contest. Did he win? I think he won. But yes, thank you, Andre Iguodala. Number 9, see you in the rafters. Then do not forget to comment on what you think the Warriors need to do, what some of the main things that we need to achieve as a team are, and don't forget to subscribe. And then soon I'm going to be dropping a video about the future of this channel. Thank you all so very much for watching until the end. Hope you have a great one, and go Dubs.